ではお時間になりましたので、開始をさせていただきたいと思います。皆様こんにちは。本日も、太郎、ホテルスのウェビナーにお集まりいただきましてありがとうございます。毎回ですね、さまざまな、ラグジュアリーに関わる、プレイヤーの方をご紹介するこのウェビナーのシリーズですが、今回はですね、ラクスノーマーというアジア太平洋地域において、ラグジュアリービラ、厳選されたラグジュアリービラだけをですね、リストしている、いわゆるイメージでいうと OTA になるような、サイトをですね、運営されている、ステファニー、そのラクスノーマーとの、CEO、ステファニー・チャイさんにですね、今のその行動制限が解除された後のアジアがどういったマーケットで動いているのか、そしてさまざまなラクスノバツさんには例えば軽井沢とかニセコとかに施設を載せてるんですけども、そういったアジア全体でどういった動きがあるのかというのと、どういった施設が人気なのか、でそれがコロナの前と後でどうか、そういったような話をですね、今回はしていただきたいと思います。またですね、今回もですね、チャットでの質問を受け付けておりまして、最後の方にですね、そういった質問をお時間いただきまして、ぜひですね、皆さんお知りになりたい方、いろいろ聞いていただければと思います。それでは、奈々さん、そのテイクをします。お願いします。
はい、ありがとうございます。皆様、今日もご参加いただき、誠にありがとうございます。今回のご紹介させていただきたい、The Lux Nomad のステファニー・チャイ氏、がいらっしゃいます。Thank you for joining us today, Stephanie.
Thanks for having me, Nana. こんにちは。
幼い時に日本語を習ってたということを今日発見したんですけれども、それの次回、これから先日本語で喋れるようになりたいですということでした。It's really amazing for us to know that you speak Japanese.
少し。You know, the longer Japan is closed, the worse my Japanese will get. But I studied in high school, yes.
Oh, in high school. Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to you coming.
Long time ago.
Okay, so without any waiting, I'm ごめんなさい、私太郎の COO、そして、チーフエディターの金野七重と申します。で、あと、水木さん、もう今のうちにご紹介しましょうか。
はい、すみません。太郎の、テクニカルアトルスのマネージングエディターをやってます。浜本光です。よろしくお願いいたします。
はい。Okay, so without waiting, we're very excited to have your presentation.
Okay.
And so please go ahead and get started when you want.
Okay, so this is my company, the Lux Nomad. We started in 2012 here in Singapore, which is where I'm headquartered. When we first started, we were doing luxury flash sales, which was a big trend back then in 2012, same as Groupon and so forth. But what we found really worked for us was villa booking. Because villa booking is high touch, normally a booking can be 5K, even 10,000 US dollars, which means people usually tend to inquire.
Mm-hmm.
Should I just keep going, Nana?
Yes.
Okay. So we now expanded into villa management. I think when you look at villa vacation rental industry, it's really 10 years behind the hotel industry. In the hotel market, we have so many luxury brands, Four Seasons, Peninsula, etc. But for vacation rentals, we don't have one global brand. And that's the gap we're trying to fill here at the Lux Nomad. So in 2017, we expanded into villa management. We bought one company in Bali with about 35 or so villas. And then we bought another company in Thailand, in Koh Samui. Our audience pre-COVID was really from around the region. You know, most of your customer base is usually close to home. And then you have long distance like Europe and so forth. So Singapore, Australia, Hong Kong. Of course, during COVID, that turned upside down overnight. And instantly, we had to deal with just a purely domestic market. You know, Niseko, Japan is one of our top markets. But unfortunately, I think in Japan, there are so many wonderful ski areas. Japanese may ski maybe closer in, you know, Nagano and so forth. Niseko is a very foreign town. So during COVID, we kind of just temporarily closed our Niseko booking team because we were just a foreign agent. So pre-COVID also average booking about $5,300 US per trip. Good news is we are already supposed to hit pre-COVID numbers for 2019 for Bali. Thailand, we might be about 40% down. because they've just taken away a lot of the restrictions. So it's very positive to see. Initially, early in the year, we thought it would be worse, but the pent-up demand is greater than I think everyone thought. So what we wanted to do is build a brand. You know, I think when I started Lux Nomad, we really just had like Expedia booking site, booking.com, some Kiwi collection, etc., but nothing with a personality. So that was the gap we tried to fill. So our journey when we first started was myself, 2 staff, and 2 cats in my apartment. I'm now in my apartment, but you know, we've grown a lot bigger. It's just now we can work from home. So we started really small, and out of the 5 startups who launched at the same time, we were the only ones to make it. And now we have grown into being the fastest growing villa management company in Asia. So how did we get ahead? My main competitor back then in 2012 raised twice the amount of money as me. I think I had 200K US, he had $500,000, a little bit more than me. And as one of my investors said, he had superstar team, I had a so-so team, because I was an ex-television presenter who studied finance but never practiced. And then I had 1 staff who studied linguistics, really not helpful in travel. And then 1 staff who was at Agoda. So we had on paper a weaker team. We arrived 6 months later than them to the market, and we had half the amount of money they did. But we just thought outside the box, which is something I think anyone can at any time. We did a lot of giveaways. When we saw our main competitor would pay for an advertisement with a magazine for an email blast, we would contact the same, like Esquire or somebody, and say, hey, how about we give you a 2-night stay giveaway for your readers, and you feature us in your email. And then to the hotel or the property, we said, hey, we got you email blast in Esquire, can you just give us 2 nights? So we did a lot of this bartering without having to pay. We were also the first to start influencer hosting. Because I was in television, I thought back then, how do we make it different, not just a travel writer? So we started hosting television presenters, actors, you know, models, and so forth. Now everyone does it. I'm not sure whether I did a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah, now it's all about influencers. So it's trying to think how to be different. So this was it, the brand, as I've mentioned. We never used an agency. I think sometimes you don't, unless you are challenged in marketing, I don't think you necessarily need an agency. You know, build the brand to have a voice and identity that you feel comfortable with. We also did fun things. In Niseko once, we gave everyone a bottle of sake, and then we had a tag saying, oh, for goodness, sake. So it didn't cost us much, but it gave everyone a bit of a laugh, and people tagged us on social media. Social media insights. Okay, social media for me doesn't really drive a lot of bookings in the travel industry. It did during COVID for places like Indonesia, because the Indonesians love social media. I think a celebrity in Indonesia has about 40 million followers, which, you know, is about the size of Malaysia or more than Australia. What it is good though, I think, for our Western kind of demographic, our Singapore, Hong Kong, is it's good for awareness. The problem with social media is, you know, you're not targeted. Whereas Google AdWords, I'm searching for 4-bedroom house Tokyo or luxury hotel, you know, Shinkai, Tokyo, and so forth. Social media, we were very strong early in 2012, 2014. What you find nowadays is you can't really grow unless you spend money. So, you know, the social media channels have made it all very monetary. If you want followers, you really have to pay to push your promotions out to get more people to follow up. Stories are definitely more effective than posts. We still post because of some algorithm or whatever, but stories much better, and reels are really important. You know, Instagram, which is owned, you know, by Facebook / Meta, started the stories to compete against Snapchat. So they really do push the stories more. We started making our own original ones, or sometimes we repost. We had one of a lady riding a horse on a beach, which I thought was a bit weird, but actually was our highest viewing story. Twitter, we cut years ago. we found Twitter is really more for the American market. Probably there was not much interaction in Asia. Maybe in Asia, we like more images, you know, and so forth. So we actually stopped Twitter. Facebook, we still maintain, but it is for more of an older market. A lot of young people have moved off Facebook. TikTok, we have an intern managing it because I'm too old for TikTok. But but it's something for the younger generation that you want to start start educating them. Not necessarily maybe core for luxury just yet, more for a future market. Niseko, Japan. So we fell into Niseko by accident. Back in 2016, because we have two things. We manage properties exclusively, but we're also a luxury booking agent. So we fell in love with Niseko actually, and also accidentally discovered it when a few friends were skiing. In 2016, it was very much an Australian market. It's very unique, Niseko, because it was discovered by Australians about 30 years ago. It's pretty much the only place in Japan I walk around, I feel like I'm in Australia instead of Niseko, because there's English signs everywhere. Now, over time, Niseko has become what I call the crown jewel of Asia. There is no ski resort that can compete with Niseko at all. You know, I was skiing in Queenstown, New Zealand last year. It's lovely. My mother's from New Zealand, but it doesn't have the jiapao, and the restaurants, everything, I think can't compare. When you look at the Niseko market now, it's all the super rich of Asia who have properties there. Jack Ma from Alibaba and so forth. So now you see Thais, Filipinos, Indonesian, Singapore, but a lot of the 1% going there. So we became the top agent in Niseko. I'm not sure if we are now, but pre-COVID we were. And it was a great market for us because it has one of the highest average daily rates in the region. If you're looking at a ski in, ski out studio room, probably on a shoulder season, it can be like 600 US a night just for studio room, to give you an idea. And that's non-branded, you know, because I think in Tokyo, it was pre-COVID Peninsula and so forth, or Ritz-Carlton would be 800 US a room. So skiing, fantastic, high-end market, high touch, needs agents like us because you do ask a lot of questions. And yeah, we found our niche there. And even though we had a remote team overseas, we actually were rated 97% excellent on Trustpilot for handling concierge and reservations from abroad. So it can be done. You don't necessarily have to be in Japan. One thing I think I was discussing with Nana earlier is labor is going to be a big challenge in Japan this season for hiring, you know, and it hasn't opened up yet. And I know people are getting poached from different properties. This is the same trend we see in Bali and Thailand as well. We're seeing there be not enough people on the islands. They've gone back to their villages, they've changed jobs and so forth. We have a shortage, and I really don't see any solution for this unless the government suddenly opens up visas, working visas, maybe to countries like Philippines and so forth, where you can find affordable hires. Because another thing to forget is, don't forget, is the flights to Japan are quite high at the moment, though they should come down when Japan opens properly. But how do you handle a labor shortage? You either educate the guests that services are going to be limited this season, or you restrict occupancy as well. It's a difficult one because, you know, for us, when you manage, you have owners, the same as any hotel. You have an owner to report to, and you want to maximize revenue for them. So anyway, it's a better problem to have than being shut down from COVID. So I won't complain. Post-pandemic, so we did an acquisition in Bali 2017. We did one more in Thailand in 2019. We'll have a look what there is moving forward. The good news is to share, you know, Thailand, it had a lot of little restrictions, like some app you had to apply that took a week for approval. They just got rid of that. Now you get approval in 2 days. No tests on arrival, no tests on departure. We've seen May 2022 be one of our biggest months since March 2019. Usually Chinese New Year is our highest month. In Thailand, 50% of customers are Chinese. In Bali, it opened up in April, and that was our highest month since 2019. We are seeing consistently May, June, 70% occupancy. Our rates are pretty much 80% at pre-COVID levels. So very positive see. Unfortunately or fortunately, the domestic market in Indonesia, the Indonesians have discovered Bali. So the traffic is worse than before. So I'm not sure how the island will, because the only problem with Bali is the roads are very small. The infrastructure is not there. Again, yes, labor shortage. What do you do? Tech can help, but there's only so much tech can do. I've been seeing a labor shortage here in Singapore in the last year with COVID, because restaurants don't have enough staff because the government limited visas. So again, is there a way to petition the Japanese government for help this when it opens up? Because I think one thing that Japan always prides itself on is service. And that will be hard to deliver if there are not enough people. What is the future like for travel? I'm very positive on it. I know we have inflation, stagflation, all these headwinds against us in the economy, but I think travel is going to be bigger than ever. Why? Before COVID, everybody had to get annual leave. You have maybe 14 days a year. Maybe in Japan also you don't really take leave. So, but now you can work from anywhere. So I'm starting to see people ask for a monthly stay in Thailand, and they can work from the villa with their kids there. I think society has fundamentally changed. Some people will go back to office full time, but I would say the majority are going to do a hybrid, perhaps, right? And when you have a hybrid, you have more flexibility to work from anywhere. Lux Nomad, we have been doing this before COVID. I had part of my team doing remote working because we have some hires in Philippines and the traffic is so bad in Manila. It doesn't make sense for someone to drive 2 hours to work back and forth. They can work from home. So we made this work for us well, and we gave some leniency if someone was traveling to Australia, see their family, they can work on Australian hours. So I think this will really change travel. And we've also got 3 years nearly of pent-up demand. The real crux will come when China reopens. I'm not sure any of us are ready for that. I might be there at the villa helping to take care of things, because that will be a very busy time. I see the Chinese traveling a lot for a long time, and they have not fully discovered places like Niseko, Japan yet. So
I see.
yeah, that's it really.
Wow. Okay. All right. But through all of this, well, thank you very much, Stephanie. But
Yeah.
first of all, I know through all of this, you actually received an award. Was it 2020, 21?
2020, I think. Yeah, best property management company.
Yeah. So that must have been something. What do you think your reasons for being awarded this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for us, because I like working as a flat organization, not a top-down traditional hierarchy. So when COVID happened, we quickly pivoted. We saw in Bali, you have some wealthy Indonesians, but you don't have many of them, right? And then you have a lot of expats who live on the island. We had to drop our rates, maybe 70%, 80%. It was massive drops. But by doing so, we were able to fill the villas. Basically, some villas was the same price as taking long-term rental. So we attracted the expat market. Then we also got, middle income, maybe a bit above income, middle income Indonesians coming to stay at our properties. In the end, most of our properties were break even, a tiny bit of loss or some profit, which was very strong because a lot of other competitors were down maybe 80% in occupancy. Last year, our group occupancy was 67% in Bali.
I see.
Yeah. So low rates, but you're working in an abnormal market. It's not normal for your airport to be closed, right? So you just have to adjust. So for us, owners were happy, staff were happy. Staff, they need people in the villa because they get tips. They get busy, so many reasons to adjust. And that's one of the key things we did that helped us win that award.
I see. So do you think the people's needs and demands have changed? In particular, like the types of villa people choose, or there's certain things that they want in the villa that they didn't before? Is there any?
Well, I think for the whole villa makeup, we see people staying longer now, so they require indoor living rooms. You know, it used to all be open air because you go to Bali and Thailand for a few nights. Wow, it's so exotic. You stay there 7 days and you're sweating and there's, you know, a few mosquitoes. You're like, I want some aircon. So that is something some of our villas are changing. They're putting in glass sliding doors and so forth. I think being more environmentally friendly is important. That's something we're definitely looking at expediting now that COVID's over. In terms of cleanliness, health and safety, I mean, we're certified like with the government certification for our safety standards and so forth. But I think I see people have quickly forgotten about that, you know? Now it's like everyone had COVID, they have Omicron, they're all hugging each other. No one's really like too worried anymore about that. Yeah, in Bali, they're not really wearing masks.
I see.
Yeah, they stopped wearing it,
Right.
only in the airport.
So they have different safety standards in different countries, cities, regions?
Well, in Thailand and Bali, there was a government certificate that you had to meet requirements to get. So in Thailand, it was called SHA, and it was just with our cleaning procedures. You know, we would disinfect the whole villa before someone checked in. It's professionally managed. And in Bali, it was called the CHSE certificate. But I don't see consumers looking for that anymore, you know. And here in Singapore, I don't see people like, oh, what am I touching? They're just, people forget very quickly. And we just had a company trip in Bali. We were all wearing masks the first day. Then the second and third day, we realized no one's really wearing masks. And by the end of it, my team was just like, hi. And luckily no one got COVID, but so humans forget easily.
Yeah, this is true. You know, one thing that I thought during your presentation that was very, if you don't mind going back to that one slide that has to do with utilizing influencers or social media.
Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting that you said you would probably, this is what interested me the most when I first met you, because I understood that you were doing things that was out of the box when nobody else was using influencers really. And so you did a very nice trade-off. And you were explaining to us right now, like what works, what doesn't.
Yeah.
Are there specific sort of images, or should people be in it? Should people not be in it? What does it come down to, you say?
I don't think there's a set rule. You can do a mix. Sometimes people in it, etc. But it has to fit with your brand image. You know, sometimes we reject influencers who look a bit too, what's the word? Like they were from FHM. Too raunchy. We're like, that's not quite Lux Nomad. That's a different nomad. So yeah, as long as they fit in with your brand, I think mix it up. You know, the favorite color on Instagram is apparently blue, because people love the blue sky. They love the sea, the ocean. I do try to tell my team, is that a photo with a gray day? Don't post it. There are only sunny days in our world of holidays and villas.
I see.
Yeah.
And you utilize, okay, I know that there's difference between influencers and KOL. So is there?
They're the same. They're the same. It's interchangeable. But what you have is you might have a mass market influencer with 1 million followers, and you now have micro influencers. So micro influencers may have only 5,000 followers, or even 2,000, 10,000, depending on which country you're living in. And I actually really like working with micro influencers because I think they have a more targeted market than a mass market one. And so we've seen inquiries come from working with groups of micros.
I see. Now, I'm going to stop you for just a moment and let my audience know that they can now, write in with the questions that they have. ここまで、チャイ氏のプレゼンテーション今、一応プレゼント時代は終わりまして、で、今からいろいろ Q&A の セッションに移りたいと思いますので、もしご質問などがある方がいらっしゃれば、どんどん聞いてください。で、私は今、ソーシャルメディアのことについてちょっとお伺いしたんですけれども、ソーシャルメディアといっても、いろんなタイプのソーシャルメディアが今あると思います。Facebook であったり、インスタであったり、でインスタの中でもこういう見せ方っていうのがいろいろ、今、ストーリーズであったり、まあ、ストーリーはいい。そして、あとポストというのもやり方としてはいい。でも、リールというのも絶対的に必要ということだったんですね。で、今、キーカラーは青が出てるのがやっぱり一番一つが多いとか、まあ今いろいろ教えていただいているところです。で、今はまあ結構皆さんインフルエンサーとか KOL っていう方たちを使ってっていうのは増えてきましたけれども、彼女が最初にスタートした頃には、まだまだそういうのが一般的に広がっていなかったんですね。それなのでやっぱり自分のターゲットにしたい属性を知るっていうのが結構キーポイントな感じが私は今してます。水木さんなんか質問ありますか？
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. It was great, great presentation. I come from a social media marketing, web marketing background as well. And I was just like Nana was saying, I was really specifically kind of interested about like how you touched on the social media, activation that you've been doing. Just curious, have your budget on social media and the marketing promotional budget, has that gone up or has that gone down? Like since you started, because usually, there's like the initial boost, and then the ripple effect, and then people would just like share it, and then you can just like leave that going.
Honestly, we tried a little bit of social media here and there. I can't say we found that it's really worked for us yet. We're fundraising at the moment. It's probably something we'll do after the race as a brand boost. But for us, pre-COVID, we put all our funds into Google AdWords. Sometimes we'd be spending like 15,000 US a month.
Okay, so you have that as a budget set aside for your marketing.
That was but we stopped it all during COVID. We're starting it again. But I did notice for Niseko, no one is really bidding at the moment. I think until Japan fully opens, it's, things are a little bit on pause. For that.
Right. Some of the travel bureaus actually, one thing I noticed, like just looking at Facebook and social media, I think a lot of the tourist bureaus, they've been posting like beaches and resort destination and stuff like that during COVID too.
Yeah.
Giving that kind of message, the communication message that I think they want to keep that momentum going.
Yeah.
Not to have the travelers to not, to kind of keep that, dream alive, I guess.
That's really important to do, because if you look at the Great Depression, sorry to go back so far in history in the 1930s, the companies that kept marketing and kept their brand alive during the Great Depression did much better when things turned around. So, I mean, for us, we've always kept posting. We've kept doing our email blasts. We maybe reduced the number of emails we sent out because most of my email database were not able to travel to our locations, right? So, but we always kept our social media, everything up to date.
That's great.
今のちょっとご説明しますか？水木さん、日本語で。
そうですね。日本語で、今最初の質問の方は、私はちょっとソーシャルメディアの方のやっぱり展開をすごく気になってたんですけども、バジェット的に例えばCOVID、またはスタートアップの時とCOVID の間、バジェット、ソーシャルにかける例えば投資は変わったかどうかっていうのをちょっとお話を伺ったんですけども、もちろんコロナに関してはそんなにめちゃくちゃ投資っていうのは積極的にやってなかったけれども、必ずやっぱりGoogle AdWords とかそういったオンラインのオンライン広告っていうのはですね、ちゃんとバジェットで決めた形で一応コンスタントにはやるような形で、再開に向けて少しずつこちらの方も広告のバジェットの方をですね、投資かけてソーシャルの方のアクティベーションっていうのをちょっと徐々にやってるという話を伺いました。なので例えばソーシャルパッてやったから、じゃあその後投資しなくてもいいっていうんではなくて、常にそういった形で宣伝広告っていうのをですね、オンラインでの宣伝広告のバジェットをちゃんと設けてやってると。あともう一つお話やったのが、あれですね、コロナの方の、コロナ期間、特にコロナ期間の広告、海外の方の観光庁とかいろんなところでホテルさんも いろんなデスティネーションの写真載せたりとかして、旅も旅行できないにもかかわらず、我々 Facebook 見てても、ちょこちょこいろんな素敵なそのデスティネーションの写真とかっていうのを見てたと思うんですけども、その辺のところ、どうですかって話を伺ったら、やはりですね、グレートデプレッション、大恐慌とかの時代もですね、やはり最終的にやっぱり、勝ち組になるビジネスはですね、その恐慌であっても、情報発信してたりとか、いろんなところのプロモーション展開をですね、積極的にやってたっていう、ところがですね、最終的に勝ち組になっているという、その過去の事例もありますので、やはりそういったコロナにもやっぱり異例ではないと思うんですね。例外ではないと思うので、コロナの時もやはりですね、最終的にコツコツと情報発信をしているところは最終的にやっぱり勝ち組として残っているんじゃないかなという話で、コメントいただきました。
なんかthe one question that I have is between vacation rental and sort of like the properties that you represent versus big hotel brands that have villas, private villas.
Yeah.
Are you crossing over? Are you representing those ones too, or unrelated? Just in your opinion?
No, ours is really the private owned villas, and in Niseko will be apartment hotels and so forth. I think the only thing with hotel resorts with their own villas is, usually they're smaller villas, dynamic rates. Our market is not so dynamic in rates because it's still a lot of traditional agent. And you're dealing with one unit, one big villa or two. Hotel use have so many rooms usually, so they're a bit more dynamic in how they're priced.
I see. And you work directly with owners or their representatives, or?
We work with owners or with the management companies, but in Bali and Thailand, we are the management company. So it's in a hotel you have one owner. I have 85.
I see.
Here. Most of mine, yeah.
私が個人的にすごい興味があったのが、その今どんどん大きいグローバルなホテル、ブランドの方も一部ビラにしたりプライベートビラにしたりレジデンスにしたりっていうのをいろいろやってますけれども、ちょっと彼女の方がだいぶビジネスモデルとしてはバケーションレンタルと言いますけれども、だいぶ前に入られていると思うので、比べてどう思いますかというご質問をしたんですけれども、やっぱり大きいところのグローバルブランドになると持っている数が違う。そしてホテルの横に隣接したりしていると。それなのでダイナミック、レート自体が上がったり下がったりっていうのが自分たちよりもだいぶ幅があるということで、やっぱりそこら辺もこのビジネス自体の違いかなとは今思っています。For an example, in Niseko, when you were there and when you found the properties, did you go there per se, or do you actually see these properties yourself, or do you sign them on by?
No, in the first round, we will meet our partners and we will see some of the properties. But once we know who's the good management company, if they have a new property, then we already know it's within the same standard. So we don't necessarily have to fly in for each new property. But for the bulk, yes. And even though we have a team who works remotely in reservations and concierge, we'll send them probably twice a year to Niseko to, understand the market.
I see. 彼女がおっしゃるには、やはりローカルなその地域の管理会社の方の方たちを知ることというのは大切ですと。で、あとはプロペティマネジメント、個々の、プライベートのオーナーの方たちというのが一番仕事が多いので、やっぱりそれを管理している方たち、管理会社、そして、レジデンスの方一つ一つを請け負っている方たちとやっぱり密にコミュニケーションを取るっていうのが結構キーポイントみたいですね。Are there certain things, like upon signing them on as the Lux Nomad, are there certain things that they need to fulfill? Like you said, influencer-wise, there's certain ones that you thought is too raunchier, not just quite the Lux Nomad. Are there certain things that...
Yeah. So we're probably going to be launching different categories soon. Nomad, boutique, and then signature being the top range, kind of like 3.5, 4, 5 star. But for us, sometimes it can be affordable luxury, but it has to be in good condition, very clean, etc. Basic service, and so forth. So there is a limit. Like we wouldn't just add something in Niseko that looks like backpacker, of course.
Mm.
So sometimes it is quite contemporary. Unfortunately, in Niseko, all the interior design kind of looks similar. It's very contemporary based. So you can't really go on design interiors, but you can go on the standard. And one thing I must say is properties there are kept immaculately well. They're
Okay.
really good condition. Even if you go to Hakuba, another ski destination, usually in Japan, I think the standards of maintaining property is very high.
I see. まあ、今のフィードバックすごく面白いと思ったのが、やっぱりニセコの方に行ってらっしゃって、で、いろんなところを見て、で、やっぱりクオリティがとても、清潔にしてあって、すごく皆さん、きれいにしてあるというのは、一番目立つところでしたということなんですけれども、これからその、ダラックスノーマンドの方も、どういうふうな展開をしていくのかと思ったときに、私もまあ、そのラックスノーマンド的な、何かそこのラックスノーマンドの、代表していただける、ビラになるには、どういうふうなこう規制であったり、こういうものじゃないといけないみたいなのがあるのかなってちょっと聞いたんですけれども、まあもちろんバックパッカーみたいなところは自分たちの属性というか、自分たちのグループには合わないと思うので、そのラックスノマドの中でも今からブティックであったり、ハイエンドであったり、3スター、4スター、まあいろいろ使い分け、グルーピングによって、ちょっとそういうふうなグループが違いますよみたいな感じで見せていくっていうのも今から考えているということでした。ただ、ニセコの方に関して、率直な意見、全部同じような感じがしますということですね。それなので、海外の方たちの目を引くためには、やっぱりちょっとそこら辺の建築家とか、まあ、インテリアデザインの方かわかりませんけれども、ちょっとそこら辺に工夫するっていうのも大切なのかもしれないですね。So, the ones in Asia, you said that there's different types of grouping that you're working on at the moment, like you have the different tiers. Like
Yeah.
Are you already doing this in Asia and other parts?
In process. We haven't launched it on the website yet. Yeah. But we
Okay.
will do that. So it's just easier for people to see what's high end, what's, more affordable and so forth.
I see. Okay. And no matter either, there's going to be price points, I'm sure, but there's also going to be long stay.
Yeah, definitely. I think what we learned from COVID is some properties are better for monthly stay. They may not be so wow design high end, but they're nice for a monthly stay. So that's an interesting part. There's also a potential new revenue stream for us is the long stay market. Right now in Bali, there's not enough villas for long stay. I have friends who are delaying their return to Bali to September because the long stay villas supply is very small and now very expensive. So
what's the difference between long stay villas, or what's more?
So usually you have two different licenses in Bali. One is for short term, one is for long, but also long stay tend to be a little bit more homely. Short stay is more wow design, cool pool. You may have all bedrooms open up to the pool. A long stay for family, that's as they say, a death trap. Going into the pool. So design and layout can be a bit different, and price point for sure.
I see. まあ、一般的にこのビラレジデンスといっても、結局はまあ国によってだと思うんですけれども、いろいろ規制が厳しいらしくて、で、それによってショートタームステイ、ロングタームステイ、それがいろいろ変わってくるらしいんですね。で、やはりさっきのロングタームステイでも、ご家族でみんな活用する、幼いお子さんがいらっしゃったりすると、やっぱりプールがあったりすると、結構危なかったり、結局長い目で見ると、誰かがいつも見ていないといけない、ちょっと危なかったりするので、彼やっぱりそういうこともいろいろ考えないといけない、参考にしないといけない内容なのかもしれないということでした。いかがでしょうか、皆さん、せっかくのチャンスなので、
もしなんかね、質問をぜひどんどんチャットか Q&A の方で、
そうですね、書いていただいて。
匿名でもちろんアナウンスしますので。
でなければ。
I have just one quick question. I know you're like totally focused on this, like, OTA, renting out the place and offering the lodge primarily, but I don't know that I think the experiential travel side of the whole travel experience is also another high in demand, right? So how would you, I mean, like that on that part of the business, I don't know, is that something that really interests you, or it's something that you were going to get into as part of the the package, I guess?
I think what we offer are curated experiences from partners. We're not going to do it ourselves because we still earn a lot more from accommodation sales. If I had $1,000 on an accommodation booking in the cycle, maybe $200 is spent on the concierge. It's usually a 20% yield there. But I think, looking at different things like, can you go, off-piste skiing, heli skiing, all these kind of things in Japan, or special chef, omakase. Definitely, we want to just list more experiences. I wouldn't get into the business of doing it. I think Airbnb tried as well. They had Airbnb. I can't even remember it. See? So I think it's quite difficult because it's so HR dependent. Right, and experience. So our core focus is still the accommodation, but great to partner with people and offer unique experience.
Okay, right.
Stephanie, can you do me a favor and unshare this?
Sure.
So great. And so そうですね。今の体験型のことについてね、いろいろお伺いされてたみたいですけど。
体験系のね、もちろんそのロッジがメインのビジネスだと思うんですけども、体験系の商品とかっていうの展開もされるんですかって話なんですけども、Airb みたいにエクスペリエンスっていうのはありますけども、そういった形でいろいろOTA、プラットフォームの方でも販売したりとか、そういった展開もするんですかって話で、でやっぱりちょっと持ち屋でということで、あんまりそこまで入っていくと、結構そのマージン的なところももちろんあれですけど、もちろん当然そういったその、得意とされている専門家の方にね、やっぱりまるっと投げた方が自分たちとしてもマネージしやすいというのもありますので、そういった形でそのローカルのそのトラベルエージェンシーだったりとか、そういったエキスパートの人たちと組んで、そういった形でニーズがあればそこのところを紹介したりとかっていう形でコラボしたりとかしてますという話でした。
So I think it's very interesting. I think the whole world is post-COVID in particular. People are looking. There are certain keywords, private, space. Also being able to be with your family, your whole tribe can stay in this one place. Also incorporating wellness or nature. I think these are key points. And so I think a lot of people are turning towards vacation rentals.
Right.
I think maybe it comes down to a little bit of the business, what's permitted in certain countries, maybe awareness, like you had mentioned. I'm not quite sure if Japanese people per se are very aware of the business model and how I think we're quite in infancy sort of stage when it comes to vacation rental.
Yes, I think also the Japanese market, vacation rentals, usually you want bigger size groups, whereas Japan is smaller, maybe ones or twos that travel, right? Also, Japan is not typically known as a big holiday market.
Yes.
Very good work ethic. Apart from like the baby boomers, the older generation. But most of Japan's tourism is back to that Abenomics, driving tourism up to pre-COVID, was it 30 million, aiming for 40 million. Had there not been COVID, I think you would have hit it with the Olympics. It's going to be a huge part of Japan's growth, I think. Even though it's only, I think, 3% of the GDP now, tourism, it has potential to be so much more, because I really don't think you can compare anywhere else in Asia with Japan. It's Paris of the East, or an organized version of Italy. My grandparents are Italian, so I can say that. It's some Italian blood. But yeah, Italy, everyone loves to go to Europe and visit those places. And I think Japan is very special in that respect.
I see. Okay.
So
some questions coming in for you.
So the first question, go ahead, Nana. So we have like two questions for you. So on the subject on labor shortage, do you have any solution, any views on how to overcome that moving into the future?
I think it's going to be very challenging. You either have to offer a lot of money, or B, you have to come up with quite a unique HR proposition to staff. Maybe it's a good bonus share, profit share, really give them a sense of purpose compared to a typical job. And that requires extra work. Secondly, the difficult thing I think with Japan is the visa requirements, right? I know in Niseko, you can get a lot of Australians and British people coming over. They're a bit scared now, even if people say yes, will they actually turn up? Like as of today, the flights are expensive. Now I'm sure this will go down because now it's expensive. Japan borders are not fully open, right? But I think also you need to educate your customer. If you educate your customer pre-arrival, like, hey, you know, it's a difficult time now in Japan. There is a bit of labor shortage. Kindly be patient with us. I think that will help a lot than someone arriving and getting a bit of a shock. Like, hey, just to share, in Phuket in Christmas last year, Thailand had just opened. You still needed a PCR test. So some people went. And one of what was a 5-star luxury villa resort there had 2 staff working at the restaurant. So 11 p.m., you saw one waitress with piles of dishes just on one table. And I mean, that is a nightmare, but even a luxury property is unable to deliver that, right? Because everyone had to cut so much during COVID.
Sure.
You didn't know when it was going to end. So now it's about building back. But yeah, see where you can use technology to make things more efficient and just start educating the staff. Maybe you don't need to do, you know, bedroom touch-up twice a day, right? All these kind of things. I know in Niseko, they're looking at every 2 days, they will tidy the room.
Right.
Just be tidy. Dear
Yeah.
Welcome to the new world. Make your own bed. Arigato.
Okay, so the second question is, okay, I work in Hawaii. How do you think of Hawaii as a vacation rental destination?
I think there are villas in Hawaii. It's not a market we've gone to. It's part of US, which, you know, is a whole different ballgame. But I do know there are villas in Hawaii, and a lot of Australians were going there pre-COVID, popular market, and so forth. It's interesting. Like if you look at Southeast Asia, Thailand has villas, Bali has villas, Vietnam, not really, Sri Lanka, a few, Cambodia, no, Malaysia, no. So different countries have developed it differently, but it's definitely going to be a great market to get into post-COVID.
I see. That's wonderful. I mean, I look forward to seeing more of these vacation rentals and private villas, etc. I mean, I think both as for the travelers, but also as a new sort of business model to look into as an investor, as one user, but also as an investor.
Yeah.
There's probably needs to be some changes involved, but you know.
I mean, a lot of Niseko is foreign owned, but I think the returns, the rental yields have dropped a lot because the entry price in Niseko is now very high. And the costs have gone up, you know, as more properties come online, more competition, and there's a labor shortage in Japan anyway, right? So yeah.
You're right. Before COVID, there were a lot of literally Australians working in Niseko.
Yes.
That's the reason why you just felt like you're in another country, because even the individuals that were working there, they were there on, you know, exchange visas, etc. That, like you touched on the good point about labor shortage, the government was sort of supporting the whole system, right? Allowing these students go and work, and for different, you know, under, I think, certain age, it makes it more flexible. And so unless these things are more, I don't know, the government does at the end of the day have to kind of support and push things forwards.
I think Japan has a big challenge. I've met investors who say love the country, but there's a huge challenge with labor in Japan, right? Because of the aging generation. A lot, and it's the only place in the world where you see people in their 70s and so forth still working, which is great. That's why they probably live a longer life as well. Ikigai, right? But I think, you know, to do the cleaning, to do all these sorts of jobs for hotels, it needs to start to open up with visas to Philippines,
Mm,
and so forth. It's
good
like
point.
the UK now, top restaurants in London had to close because of Brexit. You just couldn't get staff.
Mhm.
Close the restaurant.
Right.
Yeah. So things, time to change.
Mhm. This is true. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think one of the key words, of course, we all need to be flexible at this
Yeah.
time as we return to post-COVID world, so to speak. Yeah.
Robots can't do everything, especially not up the ski slope.
Absolutely.
Robot. so yeah, let's see. I mean, we have challenges here in Singapore. Singaporean government's been very strict on visas because a lot of local Singaporeans gave some pushback to foreigners, but at the same time, Singaporeans do not want to be waiters, cleaners, and so forth. So, governments need to support businesses.
Yes,
Like,
you're exactly right. I think that's definitely going to be one of the problems in Japan, having younger generation wanting to do ththese types of jobs.
yes, they
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah, and we
right?
just have to find a solution at this time.
Yeah.
そうですね。やっぱりいろいろな意味で、今からの変化、そういうふうな人材不足もそうですけれども、それをどういうふうにその変化に対応していくのかっていうのも結構キーポイントになると思いますね。特にラグジュアリーのセクターでは、そのあたりにいる方たちを、日雇いの人たちを仕事に就かせることは全くないわけで、サービスはそのまま上げたままにしていかないといけないという、結構難関なこともいろいろあると思います。それで今からの名前、結構大切なコンセプトとしては、フレキシブルでいる。いろんな、対応できるような、形で、やっていくというのが、キーポイントかと思います。今日はご参加できなかった方たちのために、そしてまた参加した方の中でも、もう少しこのビジネスのことを聞きたい、今日のプレゼンテーションのことを、もっと理解したい、そういう方たちがいらっしゃれば、ステファニーさんの方にもちろんご連絡差し上げることも可能ですし、今日のプレゼンテーション、YouTube の方でもアップロードしますので、それも合わせてご覧になってください。また彼女のレポートも皆さんにリクエストがありましたら、皆さんと、ご共有していただけるということですので、どんどんうちの太郎の方、ホテルスの方にご一報ください。また、次の、ウェビナーのこともちょっとご紹介させていただきたいんですけれども、次のウェビナーシリーズ第5回目は、グラ・ヨンスドッターという女性の方なんですけれども、彼女は建築家、空間デザイナー、家具デザイナーでもいらっしゃいます。アイスランドの方なんですけれども、彼女はハフィングトンポスト紙にザハ・ハディットの再来と言われている、その彼女に比べられるぐらいすごい力を持っている、イマジネーションを持っている方なんですね。で、その彼女が、ダラックスノマドのチャイさんと似ているというのは、そのアートが好き。そしてデザインが好き、そういう方たちからもう本当に今サポート、引っ張りだこになっている方なんですね。で、彼女は今度は設計をしている方、そして建築家となると一度もう作ったものになりますけれども、その他に空間デザイナーもなさっているという中では、皆さん、一般の方たちもそこまで投資ができないかもしれない。そういう、悩みにお答えできるように、限られた予算内でも取り入れられる、その空間の表現、術とかコミュニケーションの手法など、そして彼女はいつも皆さんにその一般の方たちはネイチャーとサスティナビリティというのの調和というのを彼女のアートの中で活かしてますので、そういう、次回はお話がお伺いできると思います。I just did a quick intro for next time. So sorry for that lengthy talk, but we thank you so much for giving up updates on what's latest in the area.
Thank you so much for having me and hope to see you all in Japan soon.
I know, we look forward. And when you come, we want to do another interview on you. So.
Oh, great. I will practice my Japanese.
よろしくお願いします。
よろしくお願いいたし
Thank
ま
you
す。
so much. 皆さんご清聴ありがとうございました。バイバイ。
はい、失礼いたします。はい、ありがとうございます。
Bye.